Mavericks fans, we're going to dive into 3 trade targets that Jeffrey Cooperstein and I cooked together for you. But first, a challenge. Every subscriber on today's show equals 1 win for the Mavs this season. So if we only get 30 new subscribers, we're going to be picking in the lottery next year, which goes to the Knicks anyway. If we get 50 new subscribers, that'd be pretty good. How about 70? How about 80? That probably means you're winning a championship, baby. Hit that subscribe button for Mavericks dubs. 1 sub equals 1 dub. Let's get it. Let's dive into Mavericks today. He's Jeffrey Cooperstein. I'm Harrison Graham. We are going to take a look at some Mavericks trade targets here, as obviously Dallas has been linked to potentially making a move throughout the last couple of months, but have not up to this point. So let's take a look at 3 players in particular here, Coop, and we'll start with the familiar suspect. That is Clint Capela, obviously with DeAndre Ayton moving on to Portland. And, you know, there hasn't been a lot of chatter around Miles Turner lately. Coop, if the Mavs are going to add a center, it kind of feels like Capela's that guy.
Yeah, if they're going to add a center before the season starts, I believe it will be Capela. Now, I'm not saying they're going to add Capela. I just think he's the most likely scenario at this point. Ayton obviously moved on to Portland, and other guys that the Mavericks have been targeting, like Miles Turner, signing an extension and whatnot, so I don't think he's very realistic. Capela is the most realistic of them all if they were to go get a big man.
Yeah, and you kind of feel like the wild card in all of this for any of these trade targets is will there be teams that are willing to take on Tim Hardaway Jr.? Hardaway, of course, at Mavs Media Day admitted that he wasn't sure if he'd be on this team or not this year. Then he also said when he was asked about the idea of being Sixth Man of the Year, which Jason Kidd threw out there before Mavs Media Day, he said, yeah, that's something he said. He and I haven't talked about that. So he doesn't seem thrilled to be here. So again, I think the Mavs finding a trade involving him could make some sense. But on the flip side too, Coop, with all the excitement around Dereck Lively right now,
exactly,
do the Mavs even want a big man? I think what could happen here, Coop, is they might let this go 15 or 20 games and just see how the center position looks with Lively, Holmes, and Powell. And if it's like, okay, Lively's not quite ready yet, and the other guys, there's just deficiencies there, then they might consider making a move there.
Yeah, everything we're hearing about Lively right now is absolutely positive, and I think the Mavs love him. He's going to start in these first couple of preseason games against the Minnesota Timberwolves just to see how he responds to playing with Luka and Kyrie Irving, so I'm interested to see how that goes as well. All signs point to Lively being a key member of this rotation, and if that's the case, then I don't think the Mavs even need to trade for a big man. But if they still feel that Lively still has some development to go and he could use the help of a veteran to bring him along, then maybe they go for one.
And remember, in Capela's case, he's got 2 years left on his deal.
Yep.
So it's not like you're tied to him for 5 years. It's not going to stunt Lively's development too much if you bring him in here. What say you? Should the Mavericks trade for a center? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm still open to it. I'm growing to the idea, though, of let's see how it looks with Lively potentially, at least at first, to start this season. But let us know what you guys think. Y for yes and for no. Should the Mavericks trade for a center? Today's show sponsored by Prize Picks. If you're looking to have more fun with sports in your life, game days, NFL, NBA, playoffs. Shout out to the Rangers winning Game 1. That was big. Get started with Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app that is out there. Download the app today, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. They will get you up to a $100 deposit match when you sign up. Put in 50, they'll give you 50. Put in 100, they'll get you 100, etc. How does it work, you ask? Well, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their stat projections. Like right now, we got season-long projections for you guys. I've been consistent here. I like more than on the points for Luka Doncic, less than for Kyrie. I just think Luka's in for a massive year. I still think Kyrie's going to be great, but I think Doncic is just going to go crazy this year and potentially win the MVP. So 20 to win, 60 there, 3 times the entry. Again, you can get up to 25 extra entry if you do a pick 6, which obviously tougher to win, but more bang for your buck there. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS. What's awesome about Prize Picks is you're not playing against pros, you're not playing against sharks, it's just you against the projections. Get started today and set entries in less than 60 seconds. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100. All right, we go from a big to a guard wing, if you will, Buddy Hield of the Indiana Pacers, who it seems things have quieted down around this situation, but about 3 weeks ago, it was reported by Shams Charania that Hield and the Pacers are going to look to find a trade because contract extension talks stalled, Coop, and you and I both said at the time, and I still think so, I'd love to have Buddy Hield. He's a clear upgrade over Tim Hardaway. He's not great defensively, but I think he's better than Tim. And he had an unbelievable season shooting the basketball last year.
And I think especially after how Hardaway looked at Media Day with his overall comments and just his body language, frankly, I think a Hield for Hardaway swap makes sense. If both players are unhappy, I think both players in the other situation, like I think Hardaway in Indiana would be really good. I think Buddy Hield would be really good here as well. So I think it makes sense for both teams from that standpoint. It's just a matter of what other compensation each team would be getting. And I'd be really interested in this deal. I'm just not sure if either team is actually interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think it'd have to be more than a pure swap. Like, if I'm Indiana, I either want, like, you know, a couple second-round picks.
Exactly.
Maybe I ask for a first. I don't know if Dallas would do that, but I think there'd have to be at least another moving part in this piece. Now, obviously, from Dallas' standpoint, I think if you're ranking players most likely to be traded, it's Tim Hardaway 1, Rashawn Holmes 2, Maxi Kleber 3. You could argue one of Josh Green or Jaden Hardy, but I don't think they want to move those two players right now, Coop, at least to start the season. So
yeah, I think that third spot is up for grabs. I just kind of put Kleber there because I think he's the most tradable guy there at this time. So I think that he has value around the league as well. But if the Mavs are going to make any deal, it's going to be with Tim Hardaway Jr. involved. It just has to be with the salary.
Well, the salary, and just for the fact that he's going to be a pro and show up and play. This isn't a James Harden situation, but you do get the sense that both sides would open a clean divorce. Not a messy divorce, but like a, hey, thank you for your service. We're going to ship you out, bring someone else in here. So we'll see. But again, Dallas is only going to do it if they can upgrade the roster. I mean, worst case, you have a guy that's capable of scoring 15 points per game, either as a starter or as a bench player.
That's kind of how I feel about it as well. I think they're only going to make a move if it's a clear upgrade in the rotation. They're not going to make a move for a guy that's going to be the ninth man.
No.
It's going to be someone that's a starting caliber or a sixth man that they're going to go after.
Yeah, and look, they can be patient. This could be something that happens before the deadline, so we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Again, subscribe to the channel. Informative, entertaining, and free Mavericks content. Every new sub today equals a dub for the Dallas Mavericks. And I'll tell you what, if we get 82 new subscribers, I'm going to sweeten the pot here. I am going to chug a beer on our next episode because that would be 82 wins.
Let's go.
That's what we're doing. 82 new subscribers. I'm chugging a beer. Can you guys do it? MFFL, stand up, baby. Okay, let's go to Gordon Hayward here, Coop. An interesting one. Obviously, a guy who can play more 3-4, where Buddy Hield's more of a 2-3. Injuries have kind of been the story for him, really, since he signed that big deal with Boston when he had that nasty injury on opening night. I kind of like the fit here, though, Coop. He gives you a little something different, an isolation forward that can score. I know, you could argue Luka's a forward, he's a guard, whatever. We know he's the point guard on this team. But Gordon Hayward is still a capable NBA scorer. I mean, he averaged 15 a game last year on almost 48% from the field.
Yeah, I love Hayward's fit here, honestly, just because of his ability to play the 3 and the 4 as well. He gives you some size, he gives you some defensive ability, and he can score at a pretty efficient clip. I mean, he 47.5% from the field last year. Not great from 3, just 32.5%, but I really like the fit here in Dallas, especially because he's on an expiring deal, and he's a guy that I think elevates the floor of this team.
And historically, he is a good three-point shooter. Like, I would bet that he at least gets back up above 36%.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at the last 3 years before last year, 39%, 41%, 38%. So that's kind of really where he lives, and he's someone that I think would really complement Luka and Kyrie well because of his ability to slash the ball.
Yeah, and you kind of think he'd embrace whatever role. If Jason Kidd wanted to make him a super six man, I think he'd buy into that. If you wanted to start him and Grant Williams at the 3 and the 4, kind of interchangeable there, I think he'd be open to that as well. So I'm definitely intrigued by this one. And the Mavs have been linked to him in the past. I think there's been some interest from this franchise in the past. And the trade here, I think it makes perfect sense. You're kind of, from Charlotte's standpoint, you're swapping Hardaway and Hayward, but you're also getting at least a guy who can eat some minutes in Rashawn Holmes, and that matches up the salary as well. And I agree with this trade idea from Coop. I'm not adding draft compensation.
No,
to get
especially
Gordon
because
Hayward.
he's expiring. I'm not adding any draft compensation to go get him.
Definitely not a first. I mean, maybe a second, but probably not.
If you could do this deal straight up, I mean, I think I'd heavily consider it. I really like Hayward, the player. Obviously, the health stuff's a big concern, but I really like the player.
Especially if you think Dereck Lively's ready to go right now, because if that's the case,
Then there's no
him
need
and
for
Dwight,
Sean Holmes.
him and Dwight Powell can eat up the center minutes. You can play small ball 5 with Kleba at the 5 from time to time as well. So I think that's perfectly fine at that point in time. Would you do this trade? MFFLs, type A for accept or D for decline. I'm absolutely in. I'm even more in if Dereck Lively is ahead of schedule, which certainly appears to be the case. We haven't seen him play yet, but that'll be fun to watch over the next few weeks. A for accept or D for decline. All right, guys, appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today. 1 sub equals a dub, plus 82 subs equals a beer chug from yours truly. We'll be monitoring the analytics. Hit that sub button. It's 100% free. Coop and I are out. Go Mavs. We'll see you soon.